This is Alex with Cavallo Home Services. We're on site on a completed deck project in Severna Park. Stay tuned, we're going to take you through the details. This is a pretty crazy job, definitely one of the craziest ones we've done, and I'm really excited to show this one off. So starting up here on the top of the deck, the main attraction of this house and of this deck is the waterfront view. So it looks pretty nice from here. And wanted to keep like a nice contemporary style, and we also wanted to keep the view open. So the main attraction is going to be the cable railing. This is an Atlantis system, Atlantis Spectrum, and that is your stainless steel railing, posts, cables, and the top is Ipe. And that's going to make it so the view going out into the water is unobstructed. This is one of the nicest railing systems available. Really nice, easy install. Super happy with it. Client loves it, and I really like the look of this railing system. The decking on this project, composite. It is Owens Corning WearDeck, which is the decking that we always use. Like I said, I've said this many times in many other videos if you watched our stuff. Once I started using this decking, we're not using anything else. This stuff is amazing. Fiberglass based composite, does not get hot, super strong. It can be installed 24-inch on center, even though we frame all our decks on 12s. Super nice product, and minimal expansion and contraction. We're not sponsored. I am chasing that sponsorship, but we're not sponsored, so you know this is a real review of this stuff. Bulletproof. We installed it with the camo system. Turned out very, very nice. Hidden fasteners. Because this deck is longer than 20 feet wide, we installed a perpendicular breaker board to break up that joint so you don't have any butt joints. So that turned out real nice. This decking is actually the 1x8 profile. They make a standard 1x6, which is a 5/4, and this is a 5/4 by 8. It's actually a true 7 1/4. So this is something that would be more standard on a dock. But again, because of the waterfront view, the contemporary feel, we did use the 1x8 decking up here. Turned out really, really nice. Something a little different, and I really like the look. We have with us the Decks and Docks mascot. While I talk about this staircase, this is a pretty interesting staircase. We actually framed this. The stair stringers are 2x12 OC. So Owens Corning does make a structural lumber, again supplied by Decks and Docks. Shout out to the boys over there, Danny, Justin, and Tom. Thank you guys. So the stringers are composite, which means that they can't rot, they can't degrade, they're good forever. They land right in the dirt, which they're composite. We can do that. You don't want to do that with wood, because obviously a pressure treated in contact with dirt is not necessarily ideal. But in this case, being a 2x12 OC, we have that capability. So these are framed, and standard decking, your 1x6 decking profile on top of that. Running staircase, total width of the deck, looks super nice and open, turned out nice. So we also use the 2x12 OC as a fascia board, and it also doubled as the deck fascia as well. And that's nice because, again, as a structural board, we were able to screw the railing down into that. So these railing posts have a plate welded on the bottom, and it gets attached with lag screws that go down into this and down into the fascia. So that's structural, super nice. Once again, it can't rot. And the fascia is attached. These are GRK RSS, and those are a stainless steel variation. So those are going to be completely rust proof. And they look like rivets. I like the way they look. They match the railing. Kind of like a marine look. Again, matches the whole waterfront vibe. Turned out real nice. So we're underneath the deck now. Wanted to talk about a couple details. This was a pretty interesting spot where a bunch of framing members met together. It's a rim joist, a triple girder, and a triple ledger board. All came together on this spot. And we had to do some interesting framing tricks here. If you want to see more about that, we did an in-depth video on our socials, so take a look at that and we'll give you a link for that. So I wanted to discuss some framing details while we're underneath the deck here. So the deck is relatively tall, so we really wanted to avoid using 6x6 posts. These are 8x8s, and these are 2.5 CCA, which is a treatment comprised of chromated copper arsenate, which is a lot stronger than your typical pressure treated lumber. This is a marine grade and it is rated for saltwater submersion. So this thing is going to be completely bulletproof. These go all the way down the ground into a large footer that is not visible, but these are all like 4 feet deep approximately, the footer holes. Because of the slope, we didn't want that to wash out, and they're encased in concrete. We used 15 to 20 bags of concrete per hole here to fully encase the post and make it so, one, it can support the weight of the deck, but also so it won't wash out and the post doesn't risk sliding down the hill. Now, when we took the old deck off the house, we found that it was not flashed correctly, which unfortunately is the case in at least 75% of the decks that we remove. So when we removed the deck, fortunately the sill plate had some fairly significant rot, which we were not able to replace because it was under load from the floor joists inside the house. We did what repairs we could, and we replaced the house band board, which we then attached the ledger board to and flashed it properly. But because the sill plate was rotted in some places, I wanted to add some extra support, so we did add these supports that go from the deck ledger board, and they translate the load down into the deck footer, or the house footer, pardon me. But that probably would have been fine without it, but you know, this is a pretty simple fix, just to have basically only 3 of these. This is not the longest span in the world. And it just adds a lot of strength to that deck ledger board in situations where you find that the house was rotted. So one thing you may have noticed while we were underneath the deck was this gutter system. So this deck, after we installed the framing and before we installed the decking, we installed a waterproofing system. So the underside of this deck is completely dry. Waterproofing system is fabricated to where it has slope built into it. The highest point at the house, the lowest point at the gutter. So it's basically a rubber membrane that slopes down and lets the water come into this gutter right here. It's called Dek Drain. It is a very strong competitor to Trex Rain Escapes. It is significantly cheaper and it is also significantly better. I've used both systems. This is way thicker. The Trex is basically like a thin plastic. This is like a very thick rubber with multiple layers. Super nice product, manufactured locally in Glen Burnie, and they do ship across the country, 2 or 3 day shipping. So anybody building a deck, want to do a waterproofing system, super simple system to use, super cost effective really. I mean, it's very, very nice system, can't recommend it enough, and it is going to make it so the entire underside of this deck, the seating area, the patio, and the walkway is going to be completely dry, and that would allow you to install a finished ceiling later, maybe some lights, a fan, and that would really finish this area. That's going to be it for this deck project. Turned out insane. About 2 weeks start to finish with myself and 3 guys, and yeah, really couldn't be happier with the result. Homeowner is thrilled, and we're on to the next one. Thanks for watching.